Welcome, dear astrology friends. Welcome to another video with me, Veerle, Astro Veerle, and this video is about the monthly horoscopes for October of 2024. Let's delve into this. First of all, a little bit about the collective, and then let's delve deeper for each and every single sign of the 12 signs. Now, three things are important for this month of October. Of course, we're going to have the eclipse. We're going to have the eclipse on the 2nd of October, and it's a solar eclipse. We're going to talk about that. There is, secondly, Jupiter, the planet of purpose, the planet of hope and dreams and wishes and expansion. That planet is going retrograde. And third, last but not least, we're going to have a Venus trine Mars, which is important, especially with the eclipse, because the eclipse, let's get to that. The eclipse is, as I said, on the 2nd of October, and it's the sun and the moon together. So it's called a new moon solar eclipse in Libra. And it's around and about 10 degrees. So it's very close to the south node. The south node will be around 6 degrees. So we call that a lunar eclipse. And with the south node, it has that flavor of letting go. Now, let's have a look. Of course, this is on the 2nd of October, but this is for the whole month that you're going to feel it. Even when you're watching this in September, it's a preparation for that as well. Although there's another eclipse on the 18th of September. Go watch that video if you haven't done already. But as I said, the one on the 2nd of October belongs to the Saros cycle 8 South. So that is that same Saros cycle that is all about things that ending, separations and losses and whatnot. I know people tend to freak out when they hear that, and I understand that. But the thing is, with this eclipse, and during that day of the 2nd of October, the ruler of the eclipse, which is Venus, is in such a good state. It's in such a good place. And I'm not exaggerating. I've been doing these videos for years and years, and seldomly it was such a beautiful lunar eclipse, because this sun and this moon at 10 degrees of Libra, together on the fixed star Vidimatrix has a certain meaning as well. And that meaning is again about, it's called the Widowmaker, that fixed star. So again, it's like, ooh, am I going to be a widow? But you have to take these explanations that are a bit mythical, that are of ancient astrology. You have to see that in the context of today. So yes, we're having here a new moon, which is about endings, new beginnings. We're having here this new moon with the south node, which is about letting go. It's in the sign of letting go, and old karma, old cycles are ending, and it's in the sign of Libra, which represents relationships. So in general, we're going to end some relationships for sure, and some cycles that are going to stop for sure. That fixed star, Vidimatrix, I hope I pronounce it well. It has a bit of a flavor of Mercury, Saturn, so very serious thinking is involved with Vidimatrix. But again, it's called the Widowmaker, which is again about loss and separation. Now, what is the good thing? And why am I saying this with a smile on my face? Because the ruler of all of this, which is Venus, is in a good place during the day of the eclipse. So Venus will be in Scorpio, and it's going to trine Mars in Cancer, and it's going to trine Saturn in Pisces. So we call that a grand trine. And it's a grand trine in water signs, which is a grand emotional trine. So a typical picture that this gives here to me, and I've done this for years and years, this astrology and this fixed star Vidimatrix, and what I've seen over and over again, when this is during other aspects of like these beautiful trines and so on, it's like endings and terminations of relationships and so on. But it's like you want it and you're content. It can be like, for instance, if you're having this in your 10th house of work, that you're ending a job and you're content because you already have a new one. You see, it's that kind of vibe. And so don't forget that astrology, you cannot do astrology just by picking out one detail and doing it. Then you will freak out. That's not for how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be looked at in a kind of a synthesis. That analyzing astrology is looking at the whole picture, like the Sagittarius is looking at the bigger picture. And in the bigger picture, we see, yes, endings, new beginnings here for sure. But at the same time, being content about it and being ready, and even more, being passionate about the new beginnings and the new starts that are going to be very, very long term. So because a Venus trine Mars is amazing. It's beautiful. And it is happening round and about this Venus trine Mars. So yes, the eclipse there on the 2nd. And it's already building up, that Venus trining Mars with trining Saturn. And Venus trining Mars is exact around the 7th and the 8th of October. So very, very interesting, which means there's an equilibrium. There's a balance between the give and the take. There's a balance in relationships. There's a balance with people. There is like, I invest as much in the connection as you are investing in this connection. And it goes naturally. It goes flowy, because it's in flowy emotional signs, right? So how wonderful is that? And so yes, it's a really, these things I'm going to have a look at a little bit deeper in the astrology, where this ending and new beginning of relationships is happening for you. And I'm going to look at that eclipse. Then I'm going to look at Venus trining Mars, where you've got that beautiful dance going on between the give and the take. And love is in the air for sure, for a lot of people, because of this trine of Venus Mars. Of course, Venus trine Mars is not just love, it's also passion, and it's also I find it a very artistic, creative aspect. When someone has that, let's say in a solar return, if you have your birthday here, it's going to be a very creative, inspired year, where you're going to do a lot of actions that you love. Mars is actions, Venus is love. So doing actions that you love, having that balance between what you want and going after it is easy with this beautiful trine. And that will give that flavor for the rest of the month, because Venus is making beautiful transits during the months with Neptune, with Saturn, making trines, and Mars is doing the same. Mars is also making a trine to Saturn on the 1st. It's making a trine to Neptune on the 26th. And Venus is doing the same, trining with Neptune on the 15th approximately. Yes, there is still an opposition with Venus and Uranus on the 14th, but it's followed directly on the 15th with the trine to Neptune. So it means a lot of flowiness. And I like that, especially when there are eclipses. And then we're going to have, if there are eclipses happening and you're having during that day a lot of squares, and it's going to be a bumpy ride. But if you have like this, eclipses are always about restoring. When you've been a bit off the path, how can I get back on the path? And this is very, very fluidly and very flowy, for sure. And another thing I wanted to say is indeed Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's going to go up until 21 degrees of Gemini, and then it's going to stop. It's going to stop, as it seems, and it's going to turn retrograde on the 10th of the month. So Jupiter retrograde, and it does that every year. And it does that for a couple of months. So it's going to go back 20 degrees, 19 degrees of Gemini, up until even 11 degrees of Gemini. And Jupiter is going direct again on the 5th, around about the 5th of February of 2025 at 11 degrees of Gemini. So what that always means is a reassessment for sure, a reassessment around purpose. So I'm going to have a look as well where that is in your chart. So the things that you already have done are now reassessed in that area of life. So all in all, I know it's still, of course, it's eclipses, and these are very general horoscopes, right? And even if I go through the signs, it's still very general. If you want to have your, if you're saying it's an important year for me, I'm standing on a crossroads and whatnot, and I want to have a little bit of a astrological perspective, get in touch, and you can order a reading, and all the details are put in the description box below here. But again, let's go through the 12 signs and slowly, not slowly, but concisely have a look at what's going on here. Aries, of course, you're going to have your full moon in Aries as well on the 17th, and that's at 24 degrees of Aries, so it's a big month for you on the relationship level, because not only this eclipse is happening in your 7th house. So this is for the Aries people, really, this is about relationships. And it's not about, I'm not talking about friendship or siblings. No, it's about love relationships, romantic relationships, business relationships, clients. There is this ending and a new beginning. There is an ending of a cycle with some clients and new clients. There is, and you're happy about it, right? Because you are Mars, your ruler is Mars, and it's trining Venus. So you're getting along and you're meeting new people. But it's also a time for you of saying goodbye to certain people that are no longer serving you, and you are no longer serving them. But it's all very karmic, with that south node in the 7th house. And if you say, but Veerle, I'm not in a relationship, then this is all about an ending of an attitude towards relationships. You're ending something. The thoughts that you had, they are, you're shifting your thoughts around relationships for sure. There is a new way of how you want to relate. Now, this Venus trining Mars is happening in your emotional houses, the 4th house, the 8th house. So lots of intimacy with Venus in the 8th. Absolutely. So, and with intimacy, I mean, it's body, mind, and soul, right? Sexuality, but also the trust, and also that one specific person that you want to reveal everything or a lot, and they do the same. There's this balance and this trust happening for you, which is beautiful. On another level, the 8th house, the 4th house can mean that you're dealing with real estate, and you're buying and selling and all of that, and it's going smoothly. Now, Jupiter in the 3rd, it's rethinking your thinking. You are rethinking, if you have your own business, your PR, you're rethinking your connections with siblings and neighbors and people in the neighborhood. You could go to a short trip that you've already have been in the past, and you could pick up an old study or an old skill that you wanted to learn, and you started and you stopped. You can pick that up again. So a lot of you learning. It's a beautiful month for you. And again, believe in that karmic cycle of the South Node and the ending of connections. Taurians, this eclipse is happening in your 6th house. So for you, it's a letting go of old routines that are no longer serving you. And that might be sometimes a pain in the, that you're having those routines and they're not so good for you, or they are too slow, or they are not efficient anymore. It's time now to let them go. The sooner the better, because you are Venus, of course. You are Venus. And you are ruled by Venus, and that Venus is trining Mars, remember. And that's happening in your social houses, in the 7th house, the 3rd house. There's a lot of connections. There's a lot of meeting people, meeting new people. If you're single, you could be meeting a new person. And if you are in a relationship, you kind of rekindle it. Maybe you're going on a short trip with the third house there, with Mars there, and or learning something new and meeting someone there. Also, for business partnerships, is a very good energy. But as I said, leave something behind that is no longer suiting you when it comes to your routines, when it comes to bad habits, considering your health as well. It's the perfect time to, it could mean also, because this is about endings and the sixth house is about illnesses, that a certain illness that you've been working on to heal is now healed. I hope that happens for a lot of you. Jupiter in the second house, it's your house. Jupiter is about expansion and purpose. So you're finding more purpose. You're reassessing yourself. You're reassessing your confidence. And that comes from the self. So you're really thinking about that. You're really thinking about your values as well. Keep them up. If you have been lowering your values, it's time here, that pocket of time between now and February of next year, to kind of set your standards again. Geminis, this new moon is falling in your fifth house. So, and this new moon, this eclipse, I mean. And this is about endings and new beginnings, right? But this is also about those cycles that are karmic. In the fifth house can represent children. So there could be a child that is going through that sort of a cycle. You know, they stop. They go to a big school, for instance, or they get out of the house and they start their own lives. That kind of energy is around you now. But it's one that you like. It's one that boosts your confidence because Venus is in your sixth house, trining Mars in the second house. So there's a lot that you do to hustle for the money. It's a good time for you financially, and it's a good time to earn money. With this Venus trine Mars, absolutely, it's the money houses that are activated here. But the more you kind of let go of that fifth house, the better. Now, the fifth house, I talked about children. It can also be a project, something that you've been working on that is a bit, that you consider a bit like your baby, a project, a business that you started or that you have set up. Now it's the time that it's closed, or now that it is the time that the setup is done. Right? It can also mean a certain project is finished. It's simple as that. Also, love, of course, it could mean a lover. It's done, you know, that cycle is done, and you go up a level and you live together, or because the fifth house is more about dating and so on. So you could finish up that kind of phase. On another level, if there has been a lover and it has been gone really, really well, this could be the end, and you're very, very content about it. You are focusing on your work and off you go. Cancerians, this is happening in your fourth house, which is this eclipse. So this eclipse can be a bit challenging for you because it's a fellow cardinal sign. You are a cardinal sign, Libra as well. And the fourth house, especially if you have planets around 10 degrees of Cancer, it's a bit more challenging for you. The fourth house is your home and your family, your parents, literally your home, but also your emotions and your emotional well-being. There is a shift here. So there could be an ending and a new beginning, a home that you're selling, or a family member that has a big shift happening in their life. And that has a knock-on effect on you, right? So for you, it's also an emotional house. So there's a lot of emotions that were buried that you kind of process now. And that is a good thing. Now, it is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in your fifth house, trining Mars in your sign. So although this is a bit challenging, on another level, it also means a new beginning in your emotional setup, so to speak, to become a person that operates more from the heart, because Venus is in your fifth house, Mars is in your first house. If you're single, this could mean a new love, and you're very active, and you are the chaser in this, in this story, so to speak. And with chaser, I mean you are taking the actions, you know what you want. Mars and Cancer throughout the whole month, actually. And Venus in the fifth house, if you're in a relationship, you could really rekindle that fiery energy But you're going to take the action, and you will see, you know, if what's going to happen or not going to happen. Jupiter is in your 12th house, and Jupiter in the 12th house represents looking for purpose in relaxing, looking for purpose in relaxing, and looking for purpose when it comes to, if you relax, that has a purpose in itself already, because you're reloading your batteries, and you will need it. You will need it during this time. So go to faraway places. Take some time alone, not to be lonely, but to be, you know, reloading those batteries. And it's going to do you quite a lot of good. Gemini. I want to talk again about Gemini. And I don't know how, because I forgot something very important. So I'm going to put Gemini into, you know, in the description box. I forgot that Jupiter is going backwards in your sign. That's a huge one, isn't it? So, and especially if you've got planets in Gemini around 21 degrees, 2021, you will feel this very strongly, because you have evolved and expanded up until now, you could say, with this Jupiter through your sign. But with the Jupiter going backwards, it means that you're going to kind of reassess this. Is this the right way that I was going? And the first house is your path. So whatever you started a couple of months ago, whatever you started, you're going to reassess. And that's a good thing. It could be relationship. It could be your life path, basically, and your work as well. All key areas of your life. You're revisiting that. So you're rethinking about how you're going to profile yourself and how you are going to proceed with these expansions and that growth. Could also mean you're going to learn a study that you already studied, and you're picking that up again, or travel. So I wanted to add that for you. Sorry that I forgot that, dear Gemini. Leos, this is your third house, this eclipse, and the third house is all about the way that you think on a daily basis. So there's an ending there. There's an ending of how you are thinking on a daily basis. And it's good that you end that way of thinking, especially when it was negative and when it was a bit toxic and when it was, you know, not serving you well. That could also shift relationships with siblings, with neighbors. Maybe a neighbor is going to go away and you're loving it, you know, that kind of energy. Because, and it can also mean an ending in a study, you know, a skill that you were learning and you just finished up. That's that new moon over there. And you finished that cycle. A website, you're going to finish it up and making a new one maybe, or not. And the Venus trine Mars is in the water houses for you. So the 4th and the 12th house. This could mean related to real estate, related to home, related to far away countries. So there could be you just staying at home, for instance, right? And Venus in the 4th house, but trining Mars in the 12th and doing some meditation, doing some spirituality. At the same level, it could mean you traveling far, far away with Mars in the 12th house. And Venus in the 4th then means that you feel secure no matter what. And an emotional stability. There is emotional stability that you're feeling no matter what is happening in your life. Jupiter retrograde in the 11th, typically for that is friends that are returning, that you haven't seen for a long time, or you are reassessing a friendship or a group of friends. That you are just reassessing what is the purpose, because remember, Jupiter is about purpose. What is the purpose of these people in my life? Are they good? Are they not so good? What is going on here? And it's also about goals. You could be revisiting an old goal. Virgos, this eclipse is happening in your 2nd house. This is like, decluttering. For sure, we like that, don't we, Virgos? We like to declutter and to, you know, what we don't use, what is not useful, get it out of the way. Donate or sell or whatever, or throw it away. And this is this new eclipse, this new moon eclipse in Libra, for sure. The things that you loved, the things that were once very important for you, like a book, a piece of clothing, furniture, whatever you own, it's a good time now to make place for new. Absolutely, to make place for new things. And it's going to do you so good because it shows a new you. It shows like it's symbolically you're doing away your old shoes and you're putting new ones on because you've changed and you're not longer going to walk in those old shoes, but you are grateful for those old shoes that they served you at a certain time. It's that kind of energy. Can also mean that a cycle of how you were having income, it stopped and you're doing another one. Venus and Mars are trining in your social houses. So you're going to be very social this month. Venus in the third, trining Mars in the 11th. You could be doing group activities. You could be doing lots of things with friends, with like-minded people, study, workshops, short trips, all that kind of things, and with people. And you could be doing new social activities or new social media or adjusting that, and it goes all very, very flowy. So very nice for you indeed. Your work, your career, with Jupiter in the 10th house, you're reassessing it. If you do work, you're reassessing what you did in the past, the last couple of months, let's say the last couple of, this year, actually, you could say. What did you do this year, and how was it purposeful what you were doing? And you're reassessing it, right? You're keeping what was good, what is not so good. You want to change that, and changing that at the around February of next year is the best, if you can. For others, it's about your social status. You're rethinking it, and you're rethinking your role in society. It could also mean a parent or a connection with a parent, that there is like, you're reassessing that purpose of your connection with them. Librans, the whole intro is for you. If you have a birthday on the 2nd, well, it's one of big endings and very beautiful new beginnings for sure. And it's certainly a year for love around that time. But for all Libras in general, it's a lot of shedding of the skin. I like that for you, because when you can shed off that skin, then the changes come, right? People can sometimes want a lot of changes, but they don't want to shed off old skin, basically. So it's not going to happen, is it? And energy needs space, right? So a lot of your old identity is shifting. The typical example I give is like, a part of your identity dies and there's a new one, but you're liking it because your Venus is in the 2nd house, which is your house and it's your ruler, and it's in the house of confidence, feeling good, feeling worthy, and it's trining the 10th house of work where Mars is. So also on a work level, there's a lot of energy there, and positive, passionate energy. So it's almost like the more you know, the example of I'm changing and being okay with that, although it is a big change and a big ending. For instance, for a woman, when she turns a mom, she changes a lot. It's not the same woman anymore. It's that kind of energy, but it's a beautiful thing. It adds to it. It gives purpose. And talking about purpose, Jupiter is in your 9th house going retrograde. So you're rethinking purpose in general. You're rethinking your mindset. You're rethinking how you think. You're rethinking what you believe, even deeper, right? That is very, very deep stuff. You're going deeper what you believe in, because your beliefs make you your reality. So you're going to question that, and that's a good thing. Scorpios, this new moon of letting go, and it's in a fellow water sign. It's in a water house of the 12th house, but it's in Libra. Now, what is this all about? This is about patterns. This is about old patterns, and Scorpios like that. That once and for all, the kind of deal with the old patterns. And I'm saying like this, done with it. Old patterns that aren't even yours, inherited. Because the 12th house is a karmic house that we kind of, it's a karmic house, can't put it in other words. And when you're having an eclipse with all that letting go energy, it's letting go of old karma, for sure. It goes very, very natural because it's an eclipse and it's supposed to go that way. It's also very good for addictions to stop and quit them. So if you're saying, yeah, I'm in a program or I'm doing this or that, this is good. This is energy that an astrologer wants to see, because the 12th house is letting go. The south node there means a stopping of an addiction. Now, your ruler Mars is in the 9th house and trining Venus in your 1st house. So this is a lot about fiery energy, although it is in water signs, but it's about you have new perspectives for the future and for yourself, and you're positive towards the future, and also active in learning about the mindset, to improve your mindset, to improve your belief system, to travel. So you might be traveling, studying, teaching, all that juicy stuff. And that gives you a feeling of belonging, and it gives you actually also a feeling of you feel good about yourself. You know, Venus in your 1st house, enjoy that. And it's up there up until like approximately, you could say, the 17th of the month. And then Venus shifts into Sagittarius. So enjoy that for sure. So it's a good time to have a new haircut or a new wardrobe, or do something about your looks that you love. Pamper yourself in that way. And then Sagittarians. This is happening in your 11th house. What is going on there? That could be karmically a friendship that ends, or a group of friends, or an association you were a member of and you're stopping it. You know, you could stop Facebook, you could stop whatever. And you're happy about it. Remember, Venus is trining Mars. So on another level, this is about goals, and a goal is you know, you can do this with the goal. Done. Or a goal that you're saying, that wasn't really a good goal that gave me a lot of perspective when it comes to relationships as well, because it's in Libra. So I'm not going to do that anymore. And you're finishing that up. You're not going to do that anymore. Now, this Venus and Mars is trining in your water houses, which is interesting. Venus in the 12th house, Mars in the 8th. You're doing a lot behind the scenes. And because it's a trine, it's easy energy. But of course, the universe is non-ethical. It's neutral, right? So you could be doing things sneaky for sure with Venus in the 12th and Mars in the 8th, if you know what I mean. On another level, on a very positive level, this is about charity. This is about you doing something for someone else that is in need, and it's going to give you a lot of good feelings. It's also being strategic for the future. Mars in the 8th house can be a place where you kind of think about the occult, you're thinking about death and rebirth. So you could be also doing lots of things that has to do with money of other people, like inheritances, tax returns, investments, and so on. And it's finishing up, right? Mars in the 8th house is doing a lot of those activities. And but with this trine, it goes very fluently. And Jupiter, your ruler, is going backwards now in the 7th house, which means you're thinking of you're reassessing the purpose of a significant person in your life. If you are in a relationship, if you're not in a relationship, someone could come back and or have you know, and it's in your interest that you're saying, hey, I'm going to reassess this relationship. And there is of circumstances, of course, that you are seeing another layer of this person and another side of this person, for better or for worse. It doesn't matter. And of course, if someone comes back and you don't want to see them, you shut the door, right? You're not saying like, oh, being that helpless, oh, someone is coming back and I don't want to. No, shut the door. Close the Facebook or the Instagram or whatever. I don't even know if you can close that. But anyways, so very social period for you, for sure. But behind the scenes, a lot of good flowy energy when it comes to emotional well-being towards others and you being of purpose for them. Capricorns, this is your 10th house. So for you, it's typically you could stop a job. You could quit a job and you're happy about it because you've got another one out there, right? You've got another one out there that's 10 times better. On another level, this could mean a new attitude towards work. So there's a shift in your attitude towards work. Maybe you're not working, and that is finishing up. You're finishing up that state of not working. Remember, it's a second ascendant, your midheaven. So your social status could shift from married to divorced, from divorced to living again together with someone, from having no children to having a child. That's also social status. That's also your midheaven. So there is shifts happening there for you. And especially you Capricorns, if you're having planets around 10 degrees, this is a very important new moon for you. It's a bit challenging though, because it's in a square to your sign. But as I said, Venus trines Mars, and that is in your relationship houses. Venus in the 11th house and Mars in the 7th. Wow. That is, if you're single, this could definitely mean a romance. And it could mean a friend is getting out of that friend zone. If you're together with someone, this could mean rekindling, you doing lots of stuff together, being very active with your partner. But all in all, a very social time. Go out with friends, and really going to parties and all of that. That's Venus in the 11th house for sure. That's beautiful. Jupiter going backwards in your 6th house is you rethinking your house. It's connected to that new moon and that eclipse. So rethinking and reassessing the purpose of your day-to-day life, which includes for a lot of people work as well. So you are rethinking your work, reassessing what is no longer suiting for you, what is not practical, and implementing new routines and implementing newness next year around February time. Aquarians, the 9th house. This is a fellow air sign where this eclipse is happening. So for you, it's a little bit easier, so to speak, you could say, this eclipse in the 9th house. But this represents an old mindset no longer working for you. So there could be because of a trip that you went. The 9th house is faraway countries, or it's foreign countries. Because of a book you've read, the 9th house is the house of publication, reading, learning, teaching, schooling. But it's your mindset. So something is shifting when it comes to your mindset. And this is a big thing, because when we shift our beliefs, which is something that we almost never do, because they are ingrained deeply in our DNA. But when we are starting from a new belief system, we are changing our lives. So let go of that old belief that is no longer suiting you. And it can be a belief that relates to relationships, how you think about relationships, because it's in Libra. But certainly you could think like, oh, I have to chase people and not doing that anymore. That's the new belief. That people have to come to you, or when you invest, they have to invest back, and that's it. Or a new belief that has to do with your mindset around how you are seeing life in general. Like, for instance, you could have a belief that you have to work hard for the money. And because of circumstances, you are seeing that's not true. And I have another belief. Of course, I work for the money, but I work from the heart, for instance, and with passion. And then it flows easy for you. That kind of energy. And talking about work and money and so on, you're having Venus in the 10th house, trining Mars in the 6th house. These are work houses, money houses. This means very flowy energy over there. So Venus in the 10th house, especially if you want to have a new job or you want to have a promotion, go for it. Go for it. You can, with Mars in the 6th, being very active, and you can go for that promotion for sure. With Venus in the 10th house, if you've done your best, of course. I mean, it's a trine, so it's sitting there, but trines are typically happening when we did a lot before those trines. That's so good for you. On another level, this is really routines and how you do things, and how you do things for not only work and career, but also to improve your lifestyle. So you could be doing that as well. Jupiter retrograde in the 5th house, you're rethinking love. You are reassessing love. You are reassessing the purpose of love, whether it is your children, a loved one, a project that you love, a hobby that you do. You're reassessing it. Or you are restarting a hobby, for instance, that you've done earlier or a long time ago, you're picking that up again. That could be that as well. Then the fifth house could also represent, yes, a lover coming back. A lover coming back again. If you don't want that lover coming back, then you shut the door, right? I mean, you're not hopeless and helpless, kitty or baby. So, because I get that often, people say, oh, I don't want them to come back. Well, then don't open the door, okay? But for a lot of people, it will really be Jupiter reassessing how you have fun in your life. So there could be things that you're doing now that are a bit too excessive or too, maybe just not so good for you. And you're rethinking that, how you can do that and how you can restore the balance there. Last but not least, the Pisceans. This is a new moon in the 8th house. This is really about death and rebirth. So there's a lot of karmic debts that you're done with here. And it's a lot about, how would I say, this is also about not being or feeling that you need the value of other people, which is a nice thing, because this is in Libra. This is about relationships. This could also mean an ending of some sorts with relationships, or it has to do with an inheritance that finishes up, or with loans that finish up, that are closed here, the 8th house. So you're not having those loans anymore. Or you are in investments. So the return on investments in the 8th house. It can also mean the end of a relationship. Because the 8th house is the 2nd house from the 7th. The 7th house is relationships, and it can be an ending of how you deal with a specific person. But again, it's not something to grieve about. It's something that you're saying, Venus trining Mars there in water signs, so making a perfect grand trine with you in the 9th and the 5th house. So there's a lot of heart energy. You feel good about yourself. And this Mars in your 5th house is being active to enjoy yourself, to spend time with your kids, to do a lot of things that you love, whatever that is for you, whether it is going to restaurants, having a romantic dinner, going out for doing sports, whatever it is for you. Love and romance is in the air for sure. And probably, if you say, but Veerle, I'm single, go I wanted to say go overboard. No. Go offshore, go overseas, because Venus in the 9th house represents faraway countries. So go travel if you can, and you will have a chance of finding someone very significant and being very active together and doing lots of fun things together. So on another level, Venus in the 9th can mean studies, teaching, learning, you finding purpose in your mindset, and so Jupiter and your ruler, your ancient ruler Jupiter, is going retrograde in the 4th house. So this is about this reassessing that 4th house. So a lot of you have moved or are in the midst of moving, and you are reassessing all of this. And you're going to feel settled as from Jupiter goes direct, which is February of next year. For others, because not all Pisceans are going to move, for others, this is your emotional well-being. There is like you're thinking about, okay, what was the purpose of my home, and what was the purpose of me being my own best parent, no matter how old you are? And am I doing this right? Am I taking care of myself emotionally? You could be pondering about that, and you could be reassessing this so that you could do new habits to improve that, and new things to make yourself feel more safe, because that's what this is all about, having the purpose of feeling safe and you doing it yourself. So, all in all, this was October. What a month this is. I wish you all the best. I wish you a very, very, very good month. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing, for commenting, for ordering readings. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Bye-bye.